Okay, so now let's go into the intermediate zone. Intermediate to me would be you have the behaviors down that we just talked about. You know when to go to the gym. You're consistently going to the gym. Paying attention to your nutrition is something that you can do almost without thinking about it. That now you're in the zone of you maybe want to start adding in goals, or you want to start trying different programs or mixing it up or switching out your elements of any of those. For me, with the working out specifically, these were the things that I thought you could adjust, and maybe you can go in if you have any more, or how you could do this. You could change your intensity, your volume, your nutrition, your steps or overall movement, and your sleep. Those are once we had the behavior down, those are the knobs that you can start turning and tweaking to adjust things.
Yeah, I think especially after, you've kind of the beginner level and you've been doing stuff for a long time, especially in the resistance training avenue, you've probably been, if you've been doing it correctly, you've been learning the skill, you've been learning how to do the exercises, you're proficient at them, you're getting something out of them, you're doing them with good form. Like, you can start to play with the exercises a little bit more. And I think one of the best places to start is the tempo. Is just simply you're doing the same exercise, it's the same form, but you're just changing how slow or how fast you're moving the weight. So again, the chest press example, you could be slowing, you have your normal pace, you're doing it very skillfully, very efficiently. Now you just start to slow it down and then maybe pop it off your chest. Or you could do a little bit more athletic type version where you're doing a little bit more quicker movements. So it's not necessarily as slow, but you're still in control, but you're really exploding it off your chest and you're kind of pumping them out 1, 2, 3, 4. Or more hypertrophy. On the more hypertrophy side, you're slowing it going really slow on the way down, hold for 1 second, and then pushing it back up.
Could you give the numbers of maybe the tempo?
I think like 3 or 4 seconds on the way down. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 1, and then probably up like 2, 1, 2. Just a almost like what your normal movement pushing it off your chest would be on the way back up. You could play with it a little bit of like making that fast. I don't think there's really a whole lot of benefit of like making it super slow on the way up either. Because I think long term you're going to want that fast muscle contraction type of skill, not that like slow trudge it out kind of thing. But I think tempo is a great place to start for the intermediate people of changing that up and getting something different. You can keep the same workout program, same exercises, same rep ranges, same everything, and just simply change the tempo of how you're doing it. And you're going to get a whole different workout and a whole different stimulus, and probably going to see some changes and some good stuff there.
I like that. Could you explain the difference of like what I was going to say? I have intensity and volume. I think those could kind of be intermingled a little bit, because I think if you change intensity, you're probably going to be changing overall volume, because you might be upping the weights or adding more exercises within it. But I guess maybe can you just explain volume then? How could you adjust your volume?
I think to differentiate the two, volume is just by increasing the amount of repetitions you're doing, the amount of sets you're doing, the amount of weight you're doing. It's that equation: sets times reps times weight, and then you get a number, and that's your volume for, that exercise or whatever. And then what people will do is they'll add up all of their volume, they'll hit a number, and then you're kind of figuring out then what would be more volume or less. That's what's tricky sometimes is, and you can kind of figure out actually where you're maybe stronger or even weaker, is if my volume at doing, the 5x5, 5 sets with 5 repetitions, and I can do this weight and I see that it's kind of a large number, but then when I go to do 15 repetitions at a different time and I'm doing 3 sets of 15 and I get a number and it's way less than the 5x5, well, you can kind of see, okay, the weight that I can do at 15 repetitions is a little bit lower relative to at 5 when I add out all of the volume type of thing. So you can start to kind of figure out where you're actually maybe weak or strong depending on that. Typically it's like 3 sets of 15, or it's 4 sets of 10, or it's 5 sets of 5. Those are your very general, agreed upon. Everybody kind of uses those sets and reps, but your volume is just sets times reps times weight. And then the intensity part of it, I usually think about that in the sense of like, okay, I have my 3 sets of 15 program, but my intensity is being changed by the tempo of how I'm lifting the weight. Rep ranges, or not rep ranges, rest periods is another one. You can really increase or decrease intensity by just changing the rep ranges. If I'm doing 2-minute rest periods and then all of a sudden I bring that down to a minute 30 rest periods, that's going to increase the intensity of the workout, because now I'm going into the next set with only a minute 30 rest compared to what I was doing before. That's going to keep me, relative to where you're starting at, but that's going to start to like, okay, I have to get back into it quicker, or you go from that down to a minute and then that down to 30 seconds. So the rest period is changing the intensity.
I thought you have an intensity of when you're say you're doing 4 sets of something, instead of potentially keeping the same weight, your goal is to every set you're going to add weight, or you're going to start with your heaviest that you can and maybe work back down, but you're trying to, even if you keep the same rest period or maybe even you lengthen it, now the intensity of your lift needs to be more.
Yeah, it'll make it more intense for sure. I think you're increasing volume now, or playing with volume.
Yeah, sure.
So it's kind of hand in hand a little bit. That's where those two are really
interchangeable, kind of.
Yeah, well they're
affect each other.
Yeah, they affect each other for sure. If you don't want to change volume at all, you're good with the volume, but you need to change the intensity. That's where I would go to, is like rest periods and your tempo of those workouts. You could also potentially change your exercises, because that can change intensity too. Like if you're just going in and doing bicep curls and tricep extensions, that's pretty low intensity. You're not doing stuff. But all of a sudden you start going and doing squats, or you start doing deadlifts, you start doing these literally more intense, more energy expenditure exercises. That's gonna change the intensity of your workouts. But that's also then now you're kind of changing your workouts, rather than I'm keeping the same exact program and I just want to increase intensity. I'd go tempo, rest periods. That's probably the quickest and most efficient way you're going to change those. But volume also does change it. It just also changes your volume at the same time. So you have to be conscious of doing that.
The next one I had was nutrition, that not getting into the advanced aspect of it yet, but just overall, I think if I'm a person I'm running a program, I'm in it, or I'm just at my maintenance, kind of going in and running things every once in a while, but not having any specific goal, how you could change it is manipulating just by general, not tracking it, not by seeing what specific things am I intaking or not. You could just very overall general things adapt. I say adding in more protein, or trying to add in more protein, is generally a pretty good start, I think, because most people are not hitting their protein targets. And then if you are, I would say, what quality of protein are you getting? I would adjust the protein, and then I would adjust when am I eating and does it make sense with my body? Is it I am noticing when I eat this, I'm brain fogged, I'm getting bloated, I am having stomach issues, I'm breaking out. Is like energy, all the basic things that your food should tell you whether it's sitting with you well or it's not working for you, and just trying to dial in what's giving you energy and what's depleting you.
I think the intermediate level has this kind of, you could kind of follow the same general rule for all of the things, whether it's sleep, diet, or exercise, where I'm going to keep the same exact program of what I'm doing, but I'm just going to adjust things so that it's a little bit different, but I don't have to necessarily really change anything. Like with the exercise example, I'm going to keep the same program, but now I'm just going to slow down the tempo. I'm just going to make it really slow and whatever, or I'm going to do shorter rest periods so that's a little bit more intensity. With the nutrition thing or the diet thing, I think it'd be cool to just keep the same things you're eating, but now just adjust it. Maybe start intermittent fasting. I'm going to eat the same exact things. I don't have to think about getting different groceries or doing anything else, but I'm just going to, instead of eating 3 meals a day or 6 meals a day or whatever, I'm just going to not eat. I'm going to do like a 12-hour fast and then eat all my food at one time. Or, if you're already doing that, maybe going to spreading it back out, because those are things that might, going off of what you're saying, might change your digestion or change little things that are affecting you, breaking out or inflammation or whatever it could be. Simple changes like that, where it's like, I'm not changing anything I'm eating or consuming, but I'm just going to format it differently.
Because again, that is still a different stimulus on your body.
Yeah.
And again, going back to observing yourself, which I think is a through line in all of them as well. You don't know maybe how your body works the most efficiently until you try these other things. I like doing some types of exercises on an empty stomach. I feel like my brain is firing at the best ways that it can, but I also know that depends. If I am just in maintenance with my workouts and I'm not really pushing it, I'm kind of just somewhat practicing and going through the motions when I'm in the gym, my appetite is not going to be telling me that I'm hungry a lot. I have to just maintain the structure of eating that during those times, it is easier for me to fast in the morning and then really get myself hungry. So then I will eat the calories that will sustain and fuel me, to where if I am pushing it in the gym or trying to just focus on that, I'm not going through the motions, my hunger signals are going to tell me my appetite is going to kick up. That is when I will eat 3 meals within a day, because I will still eat 3 large meals within a day. That if I was going to fast and then eat all of that, I think I would just get overwhelmed and my stomach would get like, you got to chill. That's too much food all at once. And then I would start to have other digestive problems. So observing yourself, I know that because I have tried both sides of it, that, yeah, I think just changing the stimulus could also then change how your body is going to respond to it, even within the gym.